Hey guys, my garage door has been broken for a couple of months. It's making my wife upset. We can't get in or out when we want to. Huge pain in the butt. I'm sure some of you have dealt with that before. I'm calling out Daniel from All-Star Garage Door. He's gonna tell me exactly what's wrong with it. I think it's a broken spring, could be more, and then we're gonna get that fixed and working. We're also just gonna learn a little bit more about the process together, have him explain some of what he's doing, what we can do ourselves, and what maybe should be done by a professional. I think it'll be really cool. Can't wait to get started. Let's go take a look at what's going on in there.
So this might be something that's happened to you before. You get home, everything was fine. You got up in the morning, you drove out, the door operated just fine. Door goes down. And then when you come home, you try to open the door, and this happens. Whenever that happens, do not continue to hit your wall button. The first thing you want to do is you want to come over here and take a look. And this coil is the powerhouse of your door. It's called a torsion spring assembly. And as you can see over here, we have a direct brake, which means that the lifting power of that spring has been reduced by half. This opener is not strong enough to open up this door on its own, so this is an indication that you need somebody to come and replace your springs. Now I'm just going to go and grab a couple of my tools. I'm going to make sure that I can weigh the door, that I have the proper tools for lifting the door so that there's no further damage being done to the door.
Daniel, tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Not all springs are equal. Most people see a coil at the top of their door. They assume a spring is a spring. But you have non-insulated doors, vinyl back insulated doors, and steel back insulated doors, plus you have different thicknesses. So each door can have a different weight. In order for the torsion spring to equalize that weight as the door goes up and over the radius, it requires you to weigh the door, determine the track's radius, as well as the drums for how many times or how much distance the door travels as it goes around that drum. So right now I'm just getting the weight of the door. And as you can see right now, this is saying that the door only weighs 190 pounds or 109 pounds. But that's because this other spring right here is holding tension on the door. It's still helping and assisting in the lifting of it. So a professional is going to have professional cold rolled winding bars. They're going to equalize the weight off the door. It changes the weight to 0. Then I'm going to slightly back wind this door, give it a quick pop, and now you realize that your door actually weighs 230 pounds. I'm going to test this 3 times so that I'm not getting a false weight. 231, 231 pounds is what this door weighs. To determine the radius of this, so this is a 12-inch radius. As you can see, it comes down, up, and as it comes to the point where the radius is going, it's 12 inches. These drums that came with this door and with these cables are a specific drum, but the turn on them is pretty much standard. For each full turn of the torsion tube, the door goes up 1 foot.
That is super interesting. Like there's a lot more math here than I was expecting, to be honest with you.
It is a science. It is engineered. Your springs are engineered to your door. If a garage door technician comes to your home and they don't weigh your door, they are guessing what's going on your door and what's going to make it open.
Wow, okay.
These are going to be your new springs. We're going to go and get these set up in your house.
Okay, Daniel, so I'm just looking here. My old spring looks a lot shorter than what you pulled off your truck. Why is that?
I don't want you to think that length equals strength or time, because I can have a very, very long spring But if the wire diameter is narrower, it can have a very small cycle life. So the springs that were put on this door, direct from the manufacturer, are typically 10,000 cycle springs. At All Star Garage Door, we realized that the average American uses their garage door like their front door. 10,000 cycles doesn't get you as far as it used to. So any spring change we do is a minimum guaranteed 20,000 cycle spring. I can make both of these springs lift the door. I can make both of these springs lift the door well, but this one is not going to last. This one that broke is not going to last half as long as this one right here. So when you are looking at who to use and it comes down to, well, how much do you charge for a spring change? Don't look at that price as a spring is a spring is a spring. Are you getting a 25,000 cycle spring? Are you getting a 50,000 cycle spring? Understand that if I were doing 10,000 cycle springs, the average price for a spring change in Southern use is about $450 to $500 for a 10,000 cycle spring set. For what I'm putting on the door, I charge $600 standard. So yes, I'm a little bit more expensive than my competition. However, I am putting 2 spring changes on your door at one time. So it's gonna last twice as long. So when you start looking at timeline in life, remember it's cycles, not years.
Great, thank you.
So in this, we've engineered your spring. Earlier, I took the measurements of the door, I took the weight of the door, I took the radius of the track, and I took the dimensions of the drum for the multipliers, and I calculated what the total inch-pounds per turn is needed for this door to lift up. And as the springs unwind and the door comes up and over that radius, that weight is equalized because it's now in a horizontal position. So as the spring unwinds, it doesn't have as much power. It's not lifting as much weight. And so as that comes over the radius, all of these things are taken into account.
All right, what do we got going on up there?
All right, so the tension on the torsion springs, once these are wound, is extreme pressure, okay? Anytime you see nuts and bolts or things like that on the door, if you're not exactly sure what it's connected to, I cannot stress this enough, contact a professional. There is enough force after these springs are wound, it can and has killed people.
Wow, okay, got it.
You had a question about the springs.
When I called you out here,
Yep.
I had a broken spring on this side, but of course the recommendation was let's replace both springs. Why is that?
It is always recommended to replace both broken springs because as the springs open and close, they equally get the same amount of cycles. Each one of these springs is rated for a minimum of 20,000 cycles. So when one spring breaks, it's hit that 20,000. The other one has also hit 20,000. It is now beyond its life cycle. So anytime you have a broken spring, if there's 2 springs on your door, replace them both. Got to get this other side and then we're going to see some magic.
I like magic.
If I take the door, and if you remember before, when we were trying to set this door, Scott, it was very heavy. You even had to assist me to get the door up because that's how heavy the door is.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. But a properly balanced door, 2 fingers, will lift up the door.
Dang.
And as I bring this door up, it should stop each place where I put it so that anybody can lift this door.
Wow.
So that was 2 fingers lifting up a 231-pound door.
That was way easier than it used to be.
Your opener is still functional. It's still opening and closing your door. However, the reason that your chain is sagging is because over time of this door opening and closing with potentially a spring that wasn't properly balanced for this door, it has caused the bushing at the top where the sprocket is in this opener to wear through, and it's starting to tilt into itself. Eventually, that sprocket is going to break off and the opener is going to need to be repaired. Our recommendation is almost always going to be replace it. It's the amount of money that you're going to put into the repair for the next thing that breaks down to have to put in that repair, for the next thing that breaks down to have to put in for that repair. By that point in time, you could have bought a brand new opener and you would have another 15 to 20 years to not have to worry about anything. So garage door technician, when they make a recommendation, it's not because they're trying to make a larger sale, it's because it's typically what's best for you as the customer. I would tell you, hey, this opener could easily be replaced, but if you're not in that financial position, you're gonna ask me, well, is it safe to keep using? This opener is opening and closing the door. I cannot tell you how long it will open and close the door for. I don't know if it's got another week, another year, or another 5 years. But when it does come time when something does break down, hopefully you'll reach back out to me, Scott, and I'll be able to replace that opener for you too.
You got it. I think my wife's gonna be happy. Check it out. We have a working garage door again. Super stoked about this. Huge shout out to All Star Garage Door, to Daniel for his work, coming out here explaining a little bit more about how these work, how they operate, and what needs to be done to keep it in good working order. I hope this was helpful to you guys. Take care of your garage door. And as always, if you need anything, I'm right here for you here at The Real Difference Project. We'll see ya.